those right in there and having a good sniff around. The Monday Scrum.
Welcome again to the Monday Scrum. Adam Peacock alongside Brent Read, who I feel today is in a very talkative mood.
Yeah, no, it was a good weekend of footy, Adam. I'm pretty pumped up, mate.
Yeah, we're 20 minutes late today because you were talking.
Yeah. Well,
Reminiscing
technology issues didn't help either.
No, don't blame someone else.
I'm not taking sole blame for us running late.
And we did a McDonald's ad today as well, and your story went the longest about your glory days playing in the NSL.
What about yours? How long did you take us back?
2008.
2008.
You went back further.
I went back to 92.
It was before you had glasses.
Actually, 93.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Contact lenses back.
Jason Demetriou's back again. How are you, JD?
Yeah, good.
Good
Exciting
weekend?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some local sport cancelled again, so disappointed there. But, yeah, happy to see the sides at the bottom of the NRL table come up with some good wins, and convincing wins as well.
Who would have thought watching that? It wasn't the highest standard game at Leichhardt Oval between the Titans and Tigers that the form line for the next week would be so strong, and they put on, I don't know, upwards of 130 points, the two sides combined out of that one. So extraordinary.
Crazy time of year in the NRL, the way the game's played during the Origin period, and it gets quiet around some clubs, but then some bottom clubs you think kick on, and you would have expected the Warriors during this time of the year to kick on as well, but yeah, that was clearly the opposite on the weekend.
We'll get to them. James Graham, how was your weekend?
Yeah, really good. Melbourne against the Dolphins, fantastic game of football. You know, some people get the opportunity to come in and they put on a great show. But then Souths against Manly was probably the advert for why people say there should be a break in the season this time of year.
Yeah, it was a hard watch, especially from my point of view. But anyway, it was to be expected with the personnel not playing. Let's get, though, to the most heartwarming story of the weekend. Adam Dewey, Jimmy, unreal. And you can see exactly what it meant to him and his club and his family after it, and when he sat down after that intercept, and it all hit him.
Yeah, real perseverance from Adam. Going through 3 ACL injuries now, and to fight back, win your spot, be fit enough to compete. And even before the intercept, he was getting plenty of involvement. Obviously, playing in the centre position, came looking for work, looked strong every time he carried the ball, broke the line a couple of times. And interesting to see both him and Ryan Papenhuyzen back from injury, both involved in some big chases on the weekend. And it just shows how much dedication you put into your craft when you've got the ability to keep going in those tough moments. And both Dewey and Papenhuyzen did that. Dewey, smile on his face, great to see. But he did get a well-earned rest after that as well. He scored the try and just went, that'll do me.
Yeah.
Did almost a little lap of honour at Campbelltown Stadium.
Fair
but
enough.
now, credit to him, mate. It's, the game gives us so much, but it can be very cruel at times. And, when you suffer back-to-back injuries like that, can test anybody. And he's bounced back.
JD, coaching players like this, all the athletes in rugby league, because it is such a brutal sport on the body, and then when the body breaks down, it becomes a brutal sport on the mind. But that guy to play as free as he did in his comeback, what does that speak to about what kind of guy he is?
Yeah, I've been fortunate to coach Adam in 2019, and he's one of the most resilient and committed footballers I've seen. And for him to come back after 18 months, have the bone graft, a different type of ACL injury, 18 months, the Tigers did a great job in making sure that they gave him the time to get back, and he was off contract as well. So letting it sit out and wait longer when you're off contract is hard to do. That, again, like you said, plays with your mind. It's not just the physical rehab that you got to go through. It's the worry about the future as well. And for him to come back and play like he did, only after 70 minutes in reserve grade, shows the character of him, but also to re-sign with the Tigers and put faith back in them who've put faith in him. It's a great sign and a great reward for the medical staff.
Yeah, we spoke to Benji after the game, and even Benji was nervous about playing him yesterday because, as you said, JD, he'd only played 70 minutes in New South Wales Cup, and Benji rang him on Saturday night just to make sure that Adam was in the right frame of mind and confident to play. And Adam basically said, mate, I'm ready to go. I've been ready to go for 3 weeks. And he showed it with the way he played on. And he outran KO Weeks in the second half. And KO Weeks, he's quick. We saw that in the first half. So he looks quicker than before he did the injury, to be honest.
Yeah, he can move. He's definitely, and I think that'll be where he finds his home at the Tigers, in the centres.
Great to see him without strapping as well. Obviously,
Yeah.
sometimes when you come back from injury, you strap that knee up, so it limits the ability for the knee to get into certain positions. But no strapping just shows he's fully fit and ready to go.
He's great in a young. That's a young side. We saw how young it was yesterday. I think they had their 10th debutant yesterday. They had a few teenagers in that team. To bring a big bloke like him into that team at this stage of the season and this stage of their development, it's huge for that club. Huge for Benji as well.
Well, if you can't learn about what kind of resilience you need to play the sport off a guy like that, well, you're not going to learn it, are you, as a young bloke? But, Ready, what was the messaging like from Benji? You've sat in press conferences with him after games for the last 2 years, and there's been some interesting comments after disappointing losses, and he's kept a lid on it after big wins. Yesterday was a huge win. What was the mood?
Well, he was obviously happy and relieved, I guess, to an extent. But, as Benji pointed out, it's 2 wins in a row, but they got a lot more games, and they want to win a lot more games this season. So, whilst they've made positive steps forward, and as I said, they've given all these kids a chance. I think the message from Benji is don't be satisfied. We've got a lot more to achieve this season. We want to win a lot more games, and they want to escape the wooden spoon. I mean, they've won 2 in a row. They've got themselves off the bottom of the table at the moment. They just want to make sure they stay off the bottom of it.
Yeah, Para there. Does it also boost? Is it a boost also not just for the West Tigers but for tourism in Fiji? That after Benji's little trip over there, this has happened 2 in a row.
Jammer.
Did you forget the Dragons game?
Oh yeah, I did actually. That was after. I thought that was before.
We've got
Sorry.
some humble pie for you, Gemma, later if you want.
I mean, yeah, go for it. Go away whenever you want.
I know the coaches union are trying to get up and going now to support the coaches, so that might be a mid-season trip for all the coaches.
Conference.
Over to Fiji
Conference
just to get
in
together
Fiji.
and blow off the cobwebs.
I think Shane Flanagan took off to Queensland for a couple of days.
He did, yeah.
While the Dragons had the weekend off with the bye. Did you ever nick off mid-season?
Oh, no way, no. Yeah, yeah, you did. I remember my wife asked me to go overseas, and that's something that I wouldn't have done. I wouldn't go overseas. I think it's important to be around, but at the same time, you're going away. You need to get away for a few days, as Shane did up the coast. But Benji took it on board, and he made Leichhardt a fortress, and now he's broken the duck at Campbelltown as well. So he's doing all right.
Doing good. I mean, I guess if you go away and then you sit down by the pool, you finally got a bit of time. 2-3 days. That's all you have. And then you look down at your phone, it's ringing, and the name Phil Rothfield's on it. You're like, oh no, You'd put it on flight mode.
That's
wouldn't you,
no
for
fun,
2
is
days?
it? Buzz?
Even when he calls you?
No, he's normally pretty positive.
Where are
when
you,
he
mate?
calls me. I spoke to him before, actually, about an hour ago. He's in a good mood, Buzz.
Good.
He's looking forward to 360 tonight.
Mate, he's still breaking yarns.
Oh, he's on
Still
fire.
breaking yarns. But what has changed for the Tigers, James, in the last couple of weeks?
Look, they do look a lot better. Api Coruscant leads the way. But again, they've got 2 victories. The Titans probably should have beat them that game. Let's be truthful. Like, they made a line break the first set of the 6. I think the line breaks were well in favour of the Titans. And they got Canberra who are struggling at the minute. Like, I don't think they're just there yet. So you've got to put these 2 wins into perspective. But that's not to say that they shouldn't be celebrated. I think the left edge combination, Galvin yesterday with Samuela Fina, was outstanding. They look really dangerous together. And then obviously Caesar coming back in as well makes a big difference with his ability to control the ruck. So when you've got Caesar and Coruscant working in tandem together, that certainly does help them go in the right direction. And I think you've got to, although the quality of the opposition hasn't been top notch and they've been disappointing, you've got to give credit to the Tigers and their ability to perform.
Yeah, I think sometimes you need a little bit of luck as well to get some momentum in your season, and we're seeing that with the Bunnies at the moment in terms of the opposition that they're playing and how depleted they are. And that was the flip side of that was at the start of the year, but the Tigers, you need that little bit of luck sometimes just to get yourself going and get some confidence in your changing room. But they've also been dealing with a lot of internal noise that created a lot of external noise. Richo's come in and he knows he's got to reshape the roster, and they've been tapping blokes on the shoulder, letting them know their plans for next year. And for a few weeks, that's going to hurt you. That's going to hurt inside the change room. It's going to hurt in your performances. But it looks like that's all put to bed now. Everyone knows where they stand. And players generally, once they know where they stand, they'll move on and start focusing on the future. But it looks like they're all playing and moving in the right direction now.
I'd say we'll get an indication the next 3 weeks, Adam. They go Roosters, Storm, Sharks the next three games. So that'll maybe give us a better indication about how much progress they've made because they are three of the gun teams in this comp.
Just quickly, Ready, a little touch-up by Ricky Stewart on his team as well in front of the microphones.
Well, he wasn't happy. He basically accused them of not playing tough. It's 2 weeks in a row. They've been really poor. And Ricky apparently gave them a massive spray in the sheds after that game. I didn't hear it. I went and stood outside the sheds to try and catch it at half time because I thought he'd spray him at half time. So I went up the tunnel and stood out, but I think I stood outside the wrong door. So, but apparently he ripped the paint off the walls, Ricky. He absolutely gave it to them. And they deserved it. They were terrible.
Yeah. It's strange watching Canberra recently because they seem to have the blueprint and the game plan that matched their personnel perfectly. You know, the opening weeks of the season surprised most people by getting those victories, but it was based off just simple hard work, play the percentages, high completion, low risk, and then going set for set, dragging teams down and then pulling the trigger late in either half. They've completely gone away from that. It's strange to watch. I think, I just can't put my finger on it. They're missing some experience in the halves. When
Strange struggled yesterday.
Yeah,
he's had a great year.
Fogarty is still a while away as well. I think that his absence is telling.
But aren't you going to get that, JD, from 21-year-olds? You may have 2, 3 good ones. Oh, a little dip.
Yeah, but you think about how they came into the start of the season. Everybody was riding them off. They've lost too many players. Jack Whiten's moved on. There's no experience in their spine. And they had that real siege mentality about how they started their season. And Ricky's one of the best coaches in the game at creating that. And then they got some results off the back of that hard work. But this is the NRL. You've got to be able to back that up every week for 27 weeks. And that's where the challenge comes in. And that's where the young guys start hitting the wall a little bit. And they'll get through this and you'll see a response in the next couple of weeks. But you can really see that it's starting to take its toll, that backing up week after week after week.
Jimmy, is there anything more cutting for a rugby league professional than to be called soft?
No.
Yeah.
Well, what happened at half-time when the Raiders got booed off? Yeah, when your fans are letting you know like that at home to get booed off, which they did against the Cowboys. But again, it's not like the Raiders are searching for answers. The proof was there at the beginning of the season. And it was clear how they played. And maybe, JD spoke about that message of like, it's us against the world. I think that there was a camera shot, wasn't there, of inside the dressing room of the Raiders, which basically, in expletive terms said it was us against them. Maybe that message is worn off. Maybe they need to, get Ricky to play podcasts and interviews and news articles where people are writing the Raiders off again and make it us against them, because that message seemed to have run out of steam.
Go on, we'll start it here. Ready? Write them off. Go on.
I'm not going to write them off, but I wonder whether he needs to give a kid like Ethan Strange a rest, maybe. He's 19 years old. I think he's 19. And as I said, he's had a great year, but he really looked out of sorts on the weekend. And I wonder whether a kid like that, you need to maybe give him a week or two off. I'd be calling Chevy Stewart back into that team as well. I mean, he was so good in the 19s, and Ricky actually played some games in the NRL, and then Ricky gave him a rest. But Jordan Rapana, maybe you shove Jordan on the wing, and if you're going to go with youth, go all in. Stick Chevy Stewart at fullback and your young halves, and boom.
Well, you mentioned they're out of sorts. Nothing compared to what was going on the Goldie. And we've all been out of sorts on the Gold Coast from time to time. I'll speak for myself, but it certainly happened. Not as much so as the Warriors. That's the equivalent of being in Cavill Avenue at 5 a.m. with half a cheeseburger hanging out of your mouth and not knowing where you're actually staying that evening. That was all over the shop.
Is this from personal experience or what's doing?
Maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
I remember coaching a game up there, and I think it was 2021 or 2020, and we were getting dusted at half time, towed up by the Titans, and they can do that to you because they got speed all over the place, and they play that fast-flowing footy. And I remember saying to the boys at half time, in no uncertain terms, that you're too busy worrying about your jeans. That's the first thing you packed. Unfortunately, you didn't bring your shoulders, so and we went on to turn it around in the second half and had a good result. But it was true, like you can fall into that mindset when you get up there and you stay I know when they were in the bubble up there that they stayed right on in the hotel right on Cavill Avenue there. I'm not sure where they stayed this time, but it definitely looked like they were more worried about their jeans than their boots.
That's a fantastic speech. Like, were you happier with it when you were walking back up to the coach's box? Oh, I'm glad I got that off my chest, and I delivered it so well.
It's funny because you don't plan it, and then it just comes in. You just get in your head, you effing, you're too busy worrying about what you're doing after the game instead of before the game. But
you should have saved that for your Macca's moment. Or
Macca's moment, yeah. Well, it's only funny now because the boys responded, but there's been plenty where they don't. So, but yeah, that again, it can happen on the Gold Coast. It definitely can, and it looked like I said to James earlier. It looked like when you bring a team in from a division below or a local team to do a captain's run and just an oppose, like there was just no physicality from the Warriors at all. I think Bo Fermor's first try was barely touch footy. So, and that's not been the Warriors. They've been so tough and gritty and with some skill, but they've been tough as well. So, I think they'll get a fair kick, but it looks like there's maybe a bit more going on at the Warriors.
Before I asked Jimmy about how to maybe fix it, Reedy, when there's a bad smell coming from something that's floating in the air and a bit of smoke, there's usually fire, and there's usually reasons why things like this happen. And it's hard to really pinpoint it when you're in another country, let alone another city, about the Warriors. If it was a Sydney club, I reckon it'll be all over the papers about exactly what's going on there. But is there any murmurs of unsettlement?
There's some whispers coming out of the place that not all is well there. I wonder whether the Fanua-Blake decision had an impact. I mean, Sean Johnson as well, he hasn't been great, and they haven't announced his extension yet. I don't know what's going on there. I assume that's stalled, but I wonder whether Fanua-Blake, they'd be better off moving him.
So the signing, or what happened a couple of weeks ago when he didn't rock up after the game?
Well, I think they're related. I think it's all related, right? I mean, he's obviously not going to be there next year. He's going to Cronulla, and I think Adam's sort of reputation is when he's not settled. Things he can be distracted, and I wonder whether they're better off if Cronulla want him early, whether they be as good a player he is and as important as he is to them. It's obviously not working at the moment. I wonder whether Cronulla maybe look at getting him early.
Do they have the cap space?
Well, that's the issue. I don't know, Jimmy. I don't know what their cap space is like.
When's that deadline?
June 30. So they have to pay him for 4 months because he's obviously received, by the end of June, he would have received 8 months' pay. So it would be 4 months.
Oh, so any team's got this week to make signings for this season?
Yeah, this week. It is this week, yeah. So I wonder whether Cronulla, if they've got the cap room, reach out.
Are they moving someone next season, moving someone away, Cronulla, next season to fit him in?
Well, Royce Hunt's been given permission to negotiate, but that's for 26 at the moment, not for 25. So,
well, they've lost Finucane, haven't they? So
they've lost Finucane. Yeah.
So then they signed Adden. So it just depends on where they are with their cap, but they might be able to move. Look, it's pretty hard to do it now. What do we got? 3 days, 4 days? So it'd be a tough thing to do. But the Warriors, to me, they look like a team who's got their identity last year back. They've been in COVID, out of New Zealand for a while, and they really embraced being back in New Zealand, really embraced the type of footy side they are. And at the moment, they look like they're just waiting for that to happen again. They're just expecting them to play the way they did last year, and it's not quite happening. And then when you're waiting and you're not working harder, you're not got that little bit of extra motivation that you normally have, then it doesn't take much for a team, especially like the Titans. You mentioned it before, Jimmy. The Tigers had 9 line breaks to 2 against the Tigers the previous week. Yeah, they lost the game, but they didn't have any problems opening them up defensively. So they obviously this time they finished their opportunities when they got a chance. So they can score points at times. They're one of the most dangerous attacking teams in the comp, especially when Fafita's in the mood he's in.
The Titans are a funny side. I watched their game live against Brisbane, and they can pull you into that points fest. But the Warriors didn't get pulled into a points fest. Like it was beyond poor. I think when you look at the Warriors, the hype and expectation after last season, you look at their team on paper, they improve in terms of the signing of Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, Capewell, and there's a couple of others like experience. So you look at roster from 23 to 24, improved on paper. Now, but psychologically, they've not. I think, JD can speak about this, about like group dynamics and when you're just thinking it's going to happen. They had to work for everything they got last year. Like Johnson under the pump, career on the line. Like, is it going to be over? Is this my last season? Fanua-Blake, not much expected of Andrew Webster. Nobody gave the Warriors much of a chance last year. a lot of people had them in the bottom 4. They proved everybody wrong. They went and earned it. But then everybody was expecting this level of expectation that's just going to happen. And maybe that filtered through to the playing group to think, well, yeah, we're sweet. We've got Roger in the team now. We're better. Teams are afraid of us. Well, they're not. This is the NRL. And if you let that creep in, you'll quickly find yourself chasing your tail. And if you even look at their best game of the year was against Penrith Panthers. They didn't have any of their stars playing. It was Tarpicki that rescued the game for them. They were under the pump in terms of that roster that day. And then when the stars come back, it seems like they take the foot off the gas and they either wait for Fanua Blake, they wait for Johnson. He's not doing any of the little things that he was doing last year either. Like Johnson, he wasn't close to being Dally M last year because of the highlight reel stuff. It was the effort-based stuff, the kick chase, kicking the chase back, the defensive aspect of the game, the shape that he was using, selection the right options. He's been way off.
And then, like JD, I remember a game when you were with South earlier this year that they kept it pretty simple. It was through the middle, and they just got on top, and then Wade Egan started to do his thing, and then Sean Johnson joined in, and it just looked like it was working almost seamlessly, but they're miles off that.
Yeah, they build their game really well through their big forwards. And Wade Egan, he's probably one of the best attacking hookers, if not the best attacking hooker in the game, along with Marshall King at the moment and what they can create for people around them. But like I said before, I think Webster's done a great job in being really astute with who he signs. He signed Barnett and he signed Capewell. They're two really professional, dedicated workers who do a lot of cleaning up on the field. One's 18th man and the other one's playing Origin. So can't underestimate what that does to the team as well. Not only for what happens on the game day, but the prep during the week. I don't know them, but they look like two guys that compete in everything they do. And on the training field, that lifts your standards as well. And it looks like it's not just their game. It looks like they didn't get their week right and their prep going into the game wasn't probably where it needed to be.
And no jeans after the game. Yeah.
So frustrating because the game's flying over in New Zealand at the moment. And, when they're going well over there, rugby league goes really well over there. And they, as Jimmy said, they started the season with so much promise. We all thought, and when they're capable of playing really good football when they're on, but
If we talk about distractions, like maybe that's a distraction.
All the support they're getting, up the wires and all that stuff.
Wires.
Yeah.
And when you ride that wave of support into finals, look, maybe it helped them back end of last year, but to start the season like that, maybe that's been a distraction that everyone wants a piece of them now. Sometimes it's difficult to handle when everyone wants to talk to you and everyone wants to pump your tires up. Takes a lot to remain focused.
We'll see how they bounce back, if they can, this weekend against Brisbane. I think that's the Triple M call on Saturday Arvo as well. So looking forward to that one. Here we go with this.
Now, the WTF moment.
Here we go. You're all looking at each other. Who's going first? Jimmy,
I'll
you
go.
look at your belt. He's got the two
looks
hands
ready
on
to
the
go,
desk.
doesn't
He's
he?
like, I'm ready
Looks
to get
fired
something
up.
off my chest. Go.
Stop and play for a phone being on the field. So, look, there was an pitch invader in clothes. Nah, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
If you're going to do it properly. But it got me thinking about, like, well, why is the referee stop and play to take the phone off? Like, so if I'm a diehard Queensland fan or New South Wales fan and the game's on the line and say, someone's going for it. Say I'm a New South Wales fan, right? And we're up by 4 and Queensland are hammering our line. I'm just going to run onto a real dedicated fan, run onto the field and just throw their phone on and stop the onslaught and get New South Wales defence
So
ready.
pay the $5,500 or bill it to the New South
phone,
Wales Rugby League.
yeah.
Well, if you bleed blue, that's what you do, right? So test your loyalty, how much you actually care about your team.
Not that much.
Get some money in the pot before you do it. Get some
No
buy-in.
chance. I like how they charge GST on that as well. It's not $5,000, it's $5,500.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But look, it was a bit of a strange moment to see. I thought, who's going for a HIA here?
It was a weird
it's like,
one.
oh no, the referee just found the phone. Oh, clearly from the fully clothed pitch invader.
I've got one. I think the referees, WTF, did they not know the score when they sent Tuivasa-Sheck to the sin bin? Seriously, it was 38-6 or something, and he sent him to the sin bin. They've scored another 3 tries.
Is it a sin bin at 6 all?
But the biggest question is, and I'd love Graham Annesley to explain, what determines that to be a sin bin? What in that
soft, wasn't it?
tackle determines it? I just cannot. I've watched it over and over again. I cannot.
It felt like he tackled him too hard. And that's
did
what he
they
got sent
say
in for.
he went over the horizontal?
Well, they've definitely. That's how
That's
they've
what
ruled it.
That's what they've ruled.
And I think
yeah.
what they look at is driving. But the momentum of the tackle just kept going one direction. He didn't lift him, stop, and then jump off his feet and drive him. It just kept going that way. So, but it definitely didn't help a team that was already struggling.
Yeah. I saw an old clip on the weekend of who was the old South player Rampling? Dean Rampling, I think it was. He got lifted up and literally tipped on his head, and he got up and played the ball backwards, and couldn't see, and then played on.
That was shocking.
That was, and
So
it was
bad.
along the lines of my WTF, which happened in the Euros as well. And as we all know, football players, soccer players, they're the toughest athletes on the planet. Barnabas Varga, the Hungary goalkeeper,
Great name.
went out to punch the ball, missed, got a defender's shoulder, and basically flipped and landed on the point of the back of his neck. And they had to put the screens up. It was like at Randwick, and something bad had happened to one of the horses running. And fortunately, he was okay. He was reported okay afterwards. But that was landed. We talk of horizontal. If someone tackled him and did that in rugby league these days, it'd be 16 weeks. 16 weeks.
Would it?
Well, who knows?
I was going to go with Aaron Woods mysteriously turning up at Campbelltown yesterday to watch the West Tigers and support the West Tigers, but I'm not. I've gone with a viral.
Oh, no.
No. Maybe he's signing with Canberra to get himself another club.
I'm going with a viral video. It's not the one you're thinking of. Have you seen one of the English supporter? And I'm not condoning irresponsible drinking here. But if you seen the way he got so drunk, someone put a beer,
A pint glass
on
on his head.
pint glass in his head, and then they took turns. His mates took turns walking up and tipping a bit more beer in the cup,
Yeah.
whilst he was unconscious
5 a.m. Cavill Avenue.
with the beer on top of his head. It was just outrageous.
Day drinking's not for everyone.
There was that one at the Euros, that English supporter as well, who fell asleep in the stadium and woke up at 3 a.m.
yeah,
and
what
he was the
about
only bloke in the stadium.
Yeah, bleary
His
eyed.
mates looked after
I had a
him.
mate many years ago who fell asleep in a nightclub called the Underground in Brisbane. I don't think it's still there. I don't think it's there anymore. It was at Paddington, right near where Triple M is up there. He woke up in the morning. The cleaners were vacuuming around.
Fell asleep in a nightclub.
Yeah. I don't know
Ooh.
where he fell asleep that no one saw him, but yeah.
Did
Came home and said, "What happened to you?" He said, "Mate, the cleaners woke me up." I
Did
fell
he
asleep in the
evaluate his life
Underground."
choices from that moment
He
on?
didn't,
or
but a
is-
bit later he did, yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Sounds
a bit
like a
later
good
he did.
story to
I don't
me.
think he's had a drink in about 20 years.
Hey, what's the other viral video you're talking about?
You haven't seen it, Jimmy? I'll send it to you, mate.
All right,
I'm not sure it's
I'm looking
I'm
forward to
not sure
seeing
it's
that.
G-rated.
Hang
All right.
on. What? I missed something there. Anyway, let it go. What
Can we say that? Can we say it or not?
What?
The Huck Tour video? You
Oh,
haven't seen
that one. She's everywhere, the poor girl.
You'll have to send it to me. Really.
She's
I don't know
become
what you're talking
well
about.
famous, that girl.
Yes.
She's gone global.
Yes. I played golf earlier today, and it was very muddy. And to get the mud off the ball, I had to do that, and all I could think of was that guy was, spit on that thing. Anyway, golf ball. I swear. Let's bring it back. Parramatta sitting last, which makes me happy because I've got heaps of mates who are Para fans. But you would imagine best team in the park, they get better and they climb up. I don't know if they're going to make the 8. What's the latest of the coaching race? Where are we at with that, Ready? I know
Well,
it
Dean
might have been
Young's
your
come from
mail.
left field. We thought it was a Hannay Riles shootout, but Dean Young's come from left field. Look, I still think it's Riles and Hannay are the front runners, but they can't do anything until Josh Hannay finishes State of Origin duty because obviously he's locked. He's involved with the Queensland team. So once
prepared to
Origin's
wait?
out the way, what's
Are
that?
they prepared to wait?
Yeah, they're prepared to wait. Yeah. So once Origin's out the way, I think Cronulla play 2 nights later. He's obviously assistant coach there. Once that's done, they'll sit down and speak to Josh Hannay for that second interview.
You got a gut feel?
Well, a lot of people are saying Josh Hannay's got his nose in front. I would have thought Rylesy was probably the man for me, but a lot of people are suggesting Josh Hannay's now the front runner.
Mm.
And obviously Dean Young we didn't count on. He's come from left field. But I still think it's a Hannay-Riles shootout. But we'll know more in the next couple of weeks. I reckon it'll be done within 3 weeks.
There's a lot of time to drift, isn't it? Because, JD, as a coach, say you've got surety about your role. When are you looking at your roster for 2025? Obviously, they've got Lomax, but I'm not saying you're big players, but you want to fill up your 30 with as much experience and depth, and you've got kids to weigh up and things like that. When is that process totally locked in for the year after?
it's evolving all the time. But there'll be players that still have another year on their contract, but we're looking at renegotiating, or are they getting extensions? Are they not getting extensions? Who's making those decisions? So the longer it goes, the more questions are in and around the place. But at the same time, Parramatta are doing everything they can to get it right. I can understand that. So, I suppose they're looking at the season and thinking, okay, well, maybe the season's gone and we'll take an extra couple of weeks and get it right. I think it's after this Origin. I'm assuming they'll sit down with Josh, not Origin 3s. Is that right?
No, I think it's after this one. Yeah, I think the plan's after this one.
You'd expect within the next couple of weeks they'd have a decision before Origin 3.
I would say, the interesting thing for them, I reckon, JD, is I reckon the new coach might come in and look to move some of the higher paid players. And I imagine that takes a bit more time because you've got to find clubs that have got the money to fit them in, and then that club may, if they're interested, they may have to move players. So it's not as simple as you can just move the guy out because you've got to find someone who's got the salary cap room, or they've got to manufacture the salary cap room to fit someone in.
Earlier better.
Yeah.
Before clubs spend their cap.
Yeah.
Parramatta deserving of where they are on the ladder?
Probably not. No. Obviously, Mitchell Moses, an integral part of their team. They've looked better since he's come back. They had that win against Cronulla. I can't envisage them finishing last.
Who does? It's a harsh call, isn't it? Because
the race for the 8, the race for the Spoon is as interesting as the race for the 8 because every team is still in that bottom 8. It doesn't take much. You saw that with the Tigers having 2 wins. South had 4 in a row now. So it only takes a couple of wins for those bottom sides again, and those Tides just below the 8 get dragged into that, and all of a sudden you start fearing the fact that, oh no, we're a chance, and that plays a part as well. That anxiety increases in your performance, and you start fearing losing rather than getting excited about what you can achieve.
Yeah, you're right, JD. That mindset of fearing losing as opposed to going after the win, and for Parramatta, they just can't fall into the trap of we're too good to finish with the Spoon. You think about, obviously we speak about other sports on the show, the Premier League. How many teams have we seen over the years? Oh, they're too good to go down.
Yeah, rubbish.
Like they're too good to go down. And when you've got that mentality, you're too good to get the Spoon, well, you've got to go out there and earn it.
Imagine if we had relegation in the NRL.
Bring back the Jets.
Jeez, that'd make
the Bears. Bears.
That'd make August incredible.
It can't happen. And it won't. But geez, it'd be so good.
Imagine social media if that was the case.
Oh, my goodness.
Holy.
Imagine being a coach. Imagine being a coach.
It's bad enough as it is.
What do you want to get back into it?
I tell you what, though, this week would be so much more fun with like the transfer deadline, like people wheeling and dealing, trying to get signings for to stay up. I'd come out of retirement.
Well, it changes I've been involved in it over in England. It changes the whole mindset of the organisation. It becomes more about survival than planning for the future. So you get to that point, you go, okay, we need to move some players. I need experience. There's no point going with young guys. So, in my opinion, it limits opportunities for young players. So, it'll never work here, nor should it. But it is part of the English game. It's what makes the English game special.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get on with the mailman. I think he's on the way.
Read about it. Read about it. Reedy's Mail.
It's a big week in rugby league this week, actually. I know State of Origin's on.
Why's that, Brent?
Well, it's a big week for the West Tigers because they've obviously had a couple of wins now. They convinced Lachlan Galvin to stay, but I believe they're having talks this week with Stefano Utoikamanu. Yeah. He's obviously got that contract in front of him, 5 years, $4 million. Basically, then sit down with him this week and try and convince him to take up that deal. If he doesn't take up that deal, I think obviously he may, when the club's mathematically out of finals contention, he officially becomes off contract on November 1. I don't think the club will wait that long to find out, to give him permission to go to market. I think he'll go to market. If he says to them this week, I'm not taking up the deal, I reckon you'll find Stefano will get permission to go and explore his options basically almost immediately. He'll go. He'll have a handful of clubs chasing him, or maybe more than a handful of clubs. And then he'll come back to the club and to the Tigers and he'll make a final decision. But I think the concern for Stefano is, well, maybe it's not a concern for Stefano, that if he decides he doesn't want to take up that offer and the Tigers say to him, look, you're free to go and explore your options now, I think it'll be made clear to him that deal may not necessarily be on the table if he comes back to them in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and decides potentially that he wants to stay, I think the Tigers will go and explore what's out there for them with that money, because it's a lot of money. It can get you a marquee player. So it's a big week. And we did speak to Lachlan Galvin about Stefano yesterday, and he said he's been in Stefano's ear saying, mate, we want you to stay. I want you to be here while I'm here.
Is there a world in which we live in that deal becomes 2 years to keep him at the club? Like you go, okay, you're worried about the long term. What about 2 years at that coin?
Well, I imagine that's the discussions they'll have with him this week, that, maybe they'll talk about altering the contract or maybe throwing a bit more money at him. But the last I heard was Stefano was pretty keen, or keen mightn't be the right word, but wanted to go and see what was out there for him. And I think once he does that, I mean, he's going to be inundated with offers, Stefano. There's a lot of clubs that need front rowers and quality ones like him.
You'd have to think he's got some information that suggests that he knows who might be after him. I know that shouldn't happen, but I'm suspecting if he turns it down, he would, because just because you want to go to market and you're a marketable front rower, it doesn't mean all the clubs that you might favour have the room in the cap. It's not just about whether you're good enough; it's about what club has availability in their cap to spend $800,000, $900,000. So that does limit your opportunities or your ability to move. So it's a big decision for the young kid. I personally would love to see him stay at the Tigers. I think he's been part of some tough times, but that'll make him better for it in the long run. And there's some real green shoots starting to sprout there at the Tigers as well.
If this was just a regular deal and he was off contract at, say, November 1, and teams could plan 12 months in advance, but this is obviously a shorter time frame because he's free in 4 months' time. Yeah. So you've got to assume that some clubs have sort of squirreled some money away in order to make a play for Stefano next year. But in terms of that, this deal won't be on the table if you come back to Stefano, I think that's a bit of an empty threat, to be honest, because he'll just stay another year or he'll just start to negotiate for 2026. It's kind of...
there might be a contract there for him, Jimmy, next year. If they
but he is contracted for next season.
No, he's not. If they miss the 8, he's off contract. His extension doesn't kick in
because both ways.
Because he hasn't played 2 Origin games, and he hasn't. And if they miss the 8,
so the Tigers can brush him for next year.
Yes, yes.
They will if he turns it down.
Yeah,
Richard will go to market and try to use that money.
Sorry.
His job will be to get someone else in.
I was unaware that the clause went both ways. Yeah. So, look, if that's the case, and Stefano's going to go. If he was staying, it would be sorted by now.
And Wednesday's a big day. It's obviously Origin Day, but as Taylor May matter goes to court again. They went to court on Friday. Taylor May, obviously, Penrith are keen to explore the option of terminating his deal. Taylor May took them to court on Friday, won an injunction. That's back in court on Wednesday, just hours before Origin. And the other thing that's happening on Wednesday is expansion. As a commission meeting, the commission will make a decision on expansion. They will basically, the plan is to emerge from that meeting on Wednesday and say, we're open for business. If you want to be part of the NRL down the track, we want to hear from you. And I believe there's about 11 parties that are interested in applying for to enter the competition down the track. So it's a big day on Wednesday, and all that's going to happen only hours before State of Origin.
Got some more mail
here. What's this mail?
Got some more mail
here.
Hold
on, this is the best mail I've heard all day, all year. Is it Charlie, the producer Charlie White, has got engaged? Is it true or not?
This is a tough one if Mrs. Charlie listens.
She listens to them.
Is it not true?
It's not true.
Is this bad mail?
This is bad mail.
It's either very true or very wrong.
This is a credible segment.
It's not.
It's a whisper.
I wouldn't trust Jimmy Graham is all I'll say.
Congratulations. It is true. Congratulations, Charlie. Long time coming.
By the time...
Hang on. You wouldn't trust me. It's not me that's saying it.
Wait a minute. By the time she listens to this, it could be true.
She's a huge Monday Scrum fan, I'm sure. So I'm sure I'll get some texts. I got some texts yesterday because they said it on Sunday as well.
You're a challenge from that generation where if it's true, it'd be on Instagram already. So I'll have to look at his Instagram account.
They wouldn't be even back in the car from where they proposed.
There'd be the image of him down on one knee.
That's how it works in the media now, though. If you say it often enough and keep repeating it enough, it will come true.
Yeah.
We're on the campaign trail.
I can tell.
Love you, Siobhan.
She's a redhead, so we.
My goodness.
That's hard, mate. I can't top that.
You can't top that mail
of the year.
Jimmy's mail this week. Gentlemen, thank you. Enjoy the week. Enjoy Origin as well. Quick tip.
Queensland.
Yeah, please. JD?
New South Wales.
New South Wales, thank you.
New South Wales.
Well done. I knew you were one of us. I knew you were
I just
one
wanted
of
to go to a decider.
us. Okay, cool. Listen to the game on Triple M. We'll be back next week with more Monday Scrum.